Hello friends, welcome back to the lecture series on applied statistics and econometrics, and this is the second last lecture in the course. In today's lecture we are again going to visit the use of R software for statistical and econometric computation and model estimation. So, before we discuss the use of R, let us have a look at today's agenda items. So, here in today's lecture we are going to take care of the dummy variable analysis. So, in the last lecture we have dealt with regression of continuous variables mostly, but here the entire lecture of today is devoted to handling of dummy or indicator variables in R platform. So, the lecture can be thought of half of split between two main concepts. One is basically how to make use of dummy or indicator variable in a regression where y is continuous. So, the dummy variable is basically there as an independent explanatory variable, and the second half of the lecture will be devoted to the special case when dummy variable becomes the dependent variable. Yes, we are going to talk about the discrete choice models in this part. So, let me start by telling this thing again. So, the objective of these R lecture sessions is not to actually teach you how to handle R in live sessions. So, the objective behind these three lectures is very simple. I want to actually give you a very brief recap of the major concepts that we have covered in the course. So, towards the end of the course you get a feel that okay these are the most important things that we have learned in the course, and then when it comes to statistical computation or estimation of different models and drawing statistical inference out of the raw data, how a software can be used. So, here in this lecture also I am not going to take live session on R, rather I will show you some pasted screenshots from the actual R environment when you are conducting some data analysis in R platform, and there of course you are going to see the code or command that you need to write, and then I will actually try to help you to interpret the results what you see on screen. So, let us start today's discussion with dummy as an independent explanatory variable. So, first you have to introduce or define dummy variable in the regression model in the R platform, and in the last lecture only I have talked about how to create dummy variables in the R setup, but it is not a bad idea to repeat the thing again, so that you do not have to go back to the previous lecture and find out what was the code. So, for this exercise we are going to make use of the data set that we have used in lecture number 40. So, the last lecture where we have used the agricultural data at district level from two states, Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh. So, if you remember, in that data set we had one variable which was qualitative in nature, and the name of the variable was state, and it has two labels MP for Madhya Pradesh and MH for Maharashtra. Okay. Now, I want to create a dummy variable, and I want to declare that if the observation is from Madhya Pradesh state, then I am going to assign value 1 to the dummy variable or indicator variable, and that is what I am going to do. So, here you see I have declared dummy variable here, and I have kept MH the label for Maharashtra as the base category. So, basically now I have this dummy variable defined as d dot state. So, d here comes for dummy. You can give another name, it does not matter, but here at least in this lecture I am introducing dummy variable as the d dot operation. Now in step 2 you have to introduce the dummy variable as the independent variable in the linear regression model. Now there could be three different ways to make use of an indicator or dummy variable in a linear regression setup. If you remember the discussions that we had, the theoretical discussions that we had in the course, a dummy can play three types of roles. The simplest possible case is that the dummy will act as a shifter of the intercept term in the regression. The second is that the dummy variable can impact the regression coefficient of one of the explanatory variables. So, basically then there we are talking about slope change, and finally the most complicated and comprehensive category of dummy analysis is that it says that okay, the dummy variable can impact both the intercept and the slope coefficients of the regression model. So, we are going to look at these three categories one by one. So, here we are going to work with three different models. So, first let us focus on the model where we are expecting a change only in the intercept term. So, here I am defining a model by declaring or calling it a model 3, and the code I am showing here, and it starts with LM. So, let me remind you again. So, LM is basically stands for linear model, because we are running a linear regression model, and here the dependent variable is PRODHA. So, that is the monetary value of production per hectare of agricultural land, and there are three inputs, and they are fertilizer use per hectare of land, then labor input which is represented by this variable work HA. So, this is the labor unit used per hectare of land, then NIA is basically net irrigated area, and finally now we incorporate the dummy variable d dot state, and here as you see that this dummy variable is not interacting with any of the continuous regressors here in the model, then we are talking about basically an expected change in the intercept term only. Now we move on to the second model, and that we denote by model 4. So, in model 4 I am going to show you how dummy variable can be useful to model slope changes. So, we start with hypothesis where we assume that productivity of fertilizer per hectare of land varies across states because of change in agroclimatic condition, soil condition, etc. So, here we expect that the beta coefficient, the regression coefficient for the variable FERT HA may vary from Madhya Pradesh to Maharashtra. Now, this is a hypothesis, in reality this could be the case, or this could not be the case. So, we have to statistically test whether this average product of fertilizer indeed varies from one state to the other. So, the best way to do that is basically by introducing an interaction term in the linear regression model. So, you already have the dummy variable in the linear regression model 3. Now, we talk about model 4 where we also incorporate the interaction term between the continuous variable FERT-HA and the dummy variable d dot state. So, here I am showing you the code or command that you need to write for estimation of model 4. So, here you see I am incorporating the interaction term between the dummy variables d dot state and FERT HA, and then finally we are going to come to model 5 where we are going to talk about both intercept and slope coefficient changes due to the presence of dummy variable. So, now concentrate on the model 4 code or command that I have shown here. So, note that I have taken out the dummy variable d dot state as it was there in model 3, and now I am replacing that variable by this interaction variable d dot state times FERT HA. So, here we are talking about only the change in the slope coefficient, but not in the intercept. Okay. Now, we come to the most general case, there we have model 5, and in model 5 you see that I have both the dummy variable d state and the interaction between the dummy variable and the continuous variable phi tha. So, model 5 is the most general model that you can think in this context. So, basically we are now going to estimate 3 different models in our environment, and of course, we know we would like to have a comparative picture. Now, as I have shown you in the last lecture, when you get the output from R, it is not very much presentable, because numbers are not presented in form of a nice table. But does it mean that you cannot produce a regression table like other software? Yes, you can, but for that you have to make use of a package, and I am showing you now how you can make use of one package to produce nice looking regression tables, so that you can compare more than two models side by side, so that you can have a better idea how the coefficients are changing from one model to the other, or the model goodness of fit statistics is going to change from one model to the other. There are many packages, but in this lecture I am going to show you the use of Stargazer package option. So, of course, you need to download and install this particular package option before you want to execute the next step, which is basically a preparation of regression tables. So, you see here I am showing you a screenshot from R, and you see the first line shows that in library I have this package downloaded and installed. So, the Stargazer is shown within parenthesis, and then basically you write the command that you see in the second line. It is little bit lengthy, but it shows you how to represent different models. So, here you have model 1, which is basically the initial OLS model that we have estimated during the last lecture, and I have shown the regression output there also. And now we have 3 new models with dummy variables, or dummy plus interaction variables, and these are basically models 3, 4 and 5, and I am going to have a comparative picture of these 4 models. So, these will become now my columns with different labels, and you can actually write the labels for each of these models. So, say for mod 1 you want to give a label of initial. Okay, so that is basically our base model to start with, and then you may wish to call model 3 as intercept model, and model 4 as the slope model, and model 5 as both. So, you just need to type this name of the models within inverted quotation. Without inverted quotation it is not going to work, and then basically you finish the code by mentioning that what are the other things that you want to see in the table. So, of course, you want to show how many observations with which you have worked. So, that is given by small n within inverted quotation, and then you want to get an idea about the R square from this regression. So, again within inverted quotation you have to write RSQ. So, now you run this code or command in R, and you get this nice looking table presented to you. So, here you see for 4 columns you are seeing the regression results for the dependent variable prod ha, and for the initial model you have coefficients for phi tha, work ha and NIA only, because of course that is the base model which we talked about in the last lecture. Now, you see the models that we spoke about in the last slide involving dummy variables are presented in columns 2, 3 and 4. And here you see that unfortunately the dummy variable is not turning out to be significant in any of these models. Neither is the interaction between the dummy variable and the continuous variable. Now, you cannot say that if you introduce a dummy variable and an interaction variable of the dummy with one of the existing continuous variables in the regression equation, always you are going to get significant result. Now, it is an experiment. I just wanted to show you that how to handle dummy in R environment. So, here in the simplified example you see that dummy variable is not significant. So, it is not impacting the intercept parameter of the regression equation, it is also not impacting the slope parameter of the fertilizer input use variable. Okay. So, that is why you see we throw in new variables, but they are not explaining the variation in y that much. So, r square is also not changing by that much actually. So, you see the difference between the r squares is pretty low from one model to the other. So, you can say here that the state factor which is basically a fixed factor is not affecting the average productivity of fertilizer use on agricultural production. Now, we move on to the exciting case of dummy as the dependent variable. So, we have had lengthy discussion on the logit models previously. So, we are going to talk about the estimation of logit model and interpretation of the results in R platform. Okay. So, for that of course, we need a data set to start with, and we have got a data set from one existing data source, and first we are going to explain the data set to you, and then we are going to take you to our environment. So, we went to the website that we are showing here and that is basically housed at University of California, Los Angeles, and there are some free data sets available for students. In fact, I suggest you to go and visit this particular website and download freely available data sets and try your hands on them, because now in this course you are going to have some idea about how to handle data sets in R. So, why do not you go there and download data sets and run some R codes that you have learnt in these lectures, just to have a feel. So, from that data source we have downloaded data set, and let us call it binary, and it is basically on student admission into graduate school in the United States. So, in that data set we have 400 observations. So, these are basically 400 student application cases, and there are 4 variables for each of the student cases. So, from the data set we can say that there is one outcome variable which we can use for logit estimation, and that is called admit, and there are 3 other predictor variables. So, admit means that whether a student got admission into a graduate school or not, and then there are 3 predictor variables or explanatory variables. One is the GRE, that is basically the GRE score, and then the second one is titled GPA. So, that is basically the grade point average. So, that is basically you can say the performance in the last educational program that the student was enrolled in. And then finally, we have a variable called rank, and that actually gives me the ranking of the undergraduate institution. Okay. So, now among these 3 predictor variables, GRE and GPA are definitely continuous, because they are dealing with numbers, but the rank variable actually is qualitative in nature, and there are 4 levels 1 to 4. And here the institutes of rank 1 have the highest prestige, while those with 4 have the lowest. And now we import the data set in the R environment as follows. So, you have to first set your directory, as we know we have spoken about that in the last lecture also. So, here I am showing you again how to make use of the set wd command, and then you need to import the data, and read the data. Okay. So, as I said that the data is saved in your computer as binary.csv. So, you have to use the file name you see, and you can give it a different file name, it does not matter. The best way to start doing data analysis even in the context of discrete y is to generate and look at the summary statistics figures, because summary statistics tables actually tell you a lot about the variation in these variables, and it is good to have a feel of the y variable actually, especially which you are going to model. So, we actually get the summary statistics for the whole data set by writing this simple command, and here I am showing you all these measures that you have seen these measures several times in this course, like mean, median, quartiles and all. But we have two categorical variables in our data set, admit and rank, and it is not a very good idea to look at the discrete variables by looking at the values of median and quartiles and all, because they are not continuous. But let us have a look at the admit variable, one that we are going to model. So, you see the mean is going to say us something. So, mean says a value is there 0.3175. So, it says that 31.75 percentage of the students in the data set got enrolled in the graduate school. Okay. So, now if we want to get the exact frequency counts of students who got admission in the graduate school and who did not get admission in the graduate school, you can actually make use of one command called table for the dummy variable, and that is basically I am showing here in the box. So, you see for 0 value I have 273 observations, and for 1 value of the dummy variable or indicator variable I have 127 observations. So, now if you compute the ratio 127 divided by 400, so that should give you the proportion of the students who got admitted into the grad school, right. And if you actually compute the ratio, you will get that number that I have talked about couple of minutes back, and the number is 0.3175. So, that is basically the mean that is showing here. Okay. So, now we are going to talk about contingency tables. Now, why we want to talk about contingency tables? So, if you remember in the first part of the lecture, we spent sufficient time on contingency tables because they are the best way to represent the interactions of qualitative variables, and we can make use of these tables to conduct hypothesis testing, so that we can see whether there is any association between two qualitative variables or attributes or not. And although our major focus is to conduct a logistic regression in today's lecture, but it is not a bad idea to learn how one can conduct a degrees of association test between two qualitative variables, because many times in many disciplines degrees of association, Pearson chi-square tests are very useful. So, we are going to show you next how we are going to conduct a Pearsonian chi-square test in R environment. So, note that by default R consider rank variable as the continuous variable. So, you have to declare that the variable rank although it is taking numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, but it is not a continuous variable, it is basically a qualitative variable. Okay. So, in order to declare it as a categorical variable, you have to make use of a command, and that command I am showing here in this box. Now, once you have declared the rank variable as a categorical one, you can generate the contingency table by writing a simple command, and that command is x tabs. So, basically this will produce the cross tabulation of two qualitative variables admit and rank, and here you see in the rows you have 4 different labels of the qualitative variable rank, and in the columns you have 2 labels of the qualitative variable admit, and in the cells you are going to see the frequencies. Now, once the frequencies are obtained, you can now perform the Pearson chi-square test to check the degree of association between the two variables admit and rank. Now, why are we interested in a Pearson chi-square test in this context? Because we can have a hypothesis that the rank of the undergraduate institution where from the student got his or her undergraduate degree may have an effect on the decision making while the student case was being discussed, and a decision has to be taken whether the student shall be permitted in a graduate school or not. So, the prestige of the educational institute, the ranking of that educational institute from where you are coming as a student, undergraduate student, may have some impact on the decision variable which is represented here by admit. So, the best way to look at whether there is any association between these two qualitative variables or not by conducting hypothesis testing via Pearsonian chi-square test. Note that as usual chi-square test in R is not automatically done. So, you require a package, and you require MASS package that. So, you have to download and install that package in your machine, and then here you can follow the code. So, again I am showing you the library command that you write to first check whether that mass package is properly registered in R environment or not, and once you have a look at it, then you can go for the chi-square test, and chi-square test is conducted by writing this simple CHISQ command, and here is the outcome. So, you see the p value is extremely small, and then how do you conclude your test? So, as p value is very low, then you can say that the calculated chi-square value is greater than the critical tabulated chi-square value at 5% significance level. So, we reject the null hypothesis with which we start, and the null hypothesis says that there is no degree of association. So, finally, we conclude that there is a strong association between the qualitative variables rank and admit. So, now we are going to finally move on to the discussion of logit models, and I am going to make use of the same data set that we used from UCLA data source to explain you the working of or operational side of the logit model in our environment. So, here I am showing you the code that you must write in order to estimate a logit model. Of course, note that admit is the dummy dependent variable. So, that we are going to model. So, that is our y and that is discrete, and we are going to make use of two continuous variables GRE and GPA, and one qualitative variable say rank. So, here you see that we have 3 independent explanatory variables GRE, GPA and rank. Now, you look at the code, and then you see some jargons are there which probably you have not seen before, like this thing GLM. So, there is a big difference between the code that we ran for the Wallace case and what we are going to run now. Note that in the case of ordinary least squares estimation in our environment, we start the code by writing LM. So, that is basically a linear model, but now we are writing GLM. So, we are adding an extra G in front of L, and what does that mean? So, here GLM stands for generalized linear model or general linear model. So, it is basically general regression setup which can also handle non-linearities. So, you can say that the GLM is a unification of both linear and nonlinear regression models that also allows the incorporation of non-normal response distributions. So, if you remember in the context of logit model, I said that our response variable does not have a normal distribution. So, the response variable under GLM must be a member of the exponential family. So, that is the only requirement. So, it can be normal, it can be Poisson, or it can be binomial, or exponential or gamma distributions, right. So, here in this context you see here this word family, that actually talks about the family of distributions from which you need to choose one to run your general linear model. And here I am choosing binomial as the distribution from the exponential family of distributions, and I am actually using the logit link function to run the logit model. So, what is the logit link function? I hope that you remember that discussion how we made a logit transformation for the discrete dependent variable in the logit regression model lecture. Okay, now we save our GLM function as logit, and then we can use the summary logit option to get the summary of the logistic model, and you can get all the estimates. Now this slide is showing you the screenshot of the R environment. Here, as we are estimating only one model, I am not showing you how to construct the regression table, but you can also make use of that stargazer command or package that I have discussed this lecture only. So, let us have a look at the regression outcome. Okay. So, the first component of the regression outcome is basically the model specification. So, R actually tells you what model you have estimated. Then in the second block of results you see the residual summary is given, and median and quartile values are reported. And then in the third block of the regression results you see the coefficients are reported. So, the coefficient estimates are reported here, and standard error for the regression coefficients are reported, the z values are reported, and the p values are also reported. So, here you see that we are so lucky that we have all the explanatory variables turning out to be significant although at different levels, but at least 3 of them are significant at 1% level. Now, the last block of the regression outcome shows you the fit indices. So, here you see we are getting a measure of AIC, the Akaike information criteria, and finally, you are getting the number of Fisher scoring iterations 4. Now, what do we actually mean by this number of iterations and this Akaike information criteria? Why are not we getting the familiar measure R square? Note here we are not running a Weyl regression. So, you shall not expect R square to be derived here. Here if you remember the discussion on the logistic regression models, we have to adopt the maximum likelihood estimation procedure to estimate these nonlinear models, and generally for nonlinear models R squares are not reported when MLE is the method to estimate, and for that the way one can choose between models is basically by looking at the Akaike information criteria or the Bayesian-Schwarz information criteria. So, here R reports the AIC criteria. Now, as it involves the estimation of logit models, involve maximum likelihood estimations. So, there is an objective function with which is basically the likelihood function which needs to be maximized in order to derive the regression coefficients. So, there has to be like iterations. Okay. So, numerically the software actually does iteration to find the maximized value of the log likelihood function. So, here you see that after 4 iterations only the software claims that it has found a global maxima for the log likelihood function. So, it is optimized after 4 iterations. So, now we are going to spend couple of minutes on the interpretation of the coefficients. Now, the coefficient interpretation is a bit tricky in the context of logit model, because we are not talking about a linear link function. So, how do we actually interpret the coefficients coming out of a logit model? So, before we get into the interpretation of the obtained regression coefficients in the last slide, let us look at a simplest possible case where the logit model has only one regressor and there is no other explanatory variable involved. So, basically the fitted value of the logit model at a particular value or x, say xi, could be obtained as b naught plus b1 times xi. Okay. Now, the fitted value at another value of x, say xi plus 1, then will be b naught plus b1 times xi plus 1. Okay. So, the difference in the two predicted values will be now b1 only. So, the fitted value when you are using the specific value xi talks about the log odds, and when you use the value xi plus 1 and you get a fitted value, that fitted value talks about the log odds of the regressor for specific value of xi plus 1. So, now you can take antilogs and then you get the odds ratio back, and we have discussed the case of odds ratio in the theoretical lecture. So, you have odds ratio defined as the odds of the number xi plus 1 divided by odds of the number xi, and this ratio actually is given by exponential of the b1 slope coefficient. So, now we are going to look at the case that we have. So, here let us look at the case of the GRE variable. Okay. So, let us see what coefficient value it has. So, it has 0.002 as the coefficient value. So, we can say that for 1 unit change in the continuous variable GRE score, the log of odds of admission into the graduate program versus non admission in the program increases by 0.002 units. So, now we are going to look at the GPA variable. So, let us have a look at the coefficient value, and that is 0.8040. So, how can I interpret this number? So, for 1 unit change in the GPA score, the log of odds of admission versus non admission increases by 0.804 units. Okay. Now, the rank variable is a bit tricky because it is not a continuous variable. So, it only changes by 1 unit. So, first let us look at what are the rank variables we have used. So, here in the regression you see I have actually used the dummy variables for the ranks, and I have 3 dummy variables. Rank 1 is basically the base category. So, I have 3 dummy variables, rank 2, rank 3 and rank 4. Each of them are actually indicating the level or rank of the institution. So, rank 2 is a dummy variable which takes value 1 when the institution's rank is found to be 2, and similarly you can interpret rank 3 and rank 4 variables. So, now let us focus on the case of rank 2, and if we can interpret the coefficient for rank 2, then it can be followed for rank 3 and rank 4 variables also. So, now note that the rank variable rank 2 has a coefficient of minus 0.675. So, what does that mean? That means attending an undergraduate institute with rank 2 versus an undergraduate institution of rank 1 changes the log of odds ratio of admission by this many units, minus 0.675 units. So, you can see that as the student is graduating from a lower rank institution, then the chance of getting admission into the graduate program is actually lower, and we get a magnitude of the log odds ratio by looking at the coefficient for this variable rank 2. Now, in this slide we are going to talk about the goodness of fit of our logistic regression model. So, if you remember, we have discussed the case of McFadden R square in our theoretical discussion for logistic regression. So, here I am going to show you how in R environment you can get the value of that pseudo R square. So, here note that R does not provide the McFadden R square automatically. So, for that again you have to download and install a package, and the name of the package is PSCL. So, I am showing you here the code and the outcome. Once you run this PSCL command to obtain the McFadden R square. So, here you see that you have this McFadden R square number reported, and that is marked with this red box, okay, and it is quite low. But as I told you in the theoretical discussion that generally in discrete choice models you do not expect very high pseudo R square value, 0.08 I do not know whether it is good or bad, but as the regression coefficients are all significant, you can say that okay, these variables have explained some degree of variation in the discrete y variable. Now, note that if this PSCL package is not available, or you have some problem with this PSCL package, how can you get a measure for McFadden R square? Now, if you jog your memory, probably you will remember that we have spoken about that formula of McFadden pseudo R square, and that is basically a comparison of two log likelihood numbers actually, and these two log likelihood numbers are coming from two different models. One is basically the full model and one is basically the intercept only model. So, in the full model you have all the explanatory variables explaining the variation of y, and in the intercept only model you just do not have any explanatory variable in the model. So, basically you put exclusion restrictions on the coefficients for the explanatory variables. So, if you now run these two logit models, then you are going to get two different log likelihood values, and then you can actually compare them, and then you can derive McFadden R square by computing a few things in R environment. So, you do not need actually that PSCL package to help you. So, in the second box of this slide I am showing you how you can actually compute the McFadden R square. So, first you define a logit model, and that you can call logit 1, and that is basically an intercept only model, and you get the log likelihood value as -249.98, and the degrees of freedom is 1 because you have only the intercept in the regression model. And now you run your full model where you bring in those three explanatory variables in the regression equation, and then if you run the model, then you actually have 6 degrees of freedom because you are estimating 6 parameter values. Okay, 1 intercept and 5 explanatory variables, 2 of them are continuous in nature, GRE and GP, and then you have 3 dummy variables, rank 2, rank 3 and rank 4. Okay, so if you run that model, then you get a log likelihood value of -229.25. Okay, so now you can actually make use of these two log likelihood numbers, and here I am showing you the last command, which is actually computing the McFadden R square formula's value for you. So, the software computes a value 0.0829, and you note that you get back the exact same number in the first step when you actually implemented the PSCL package to compute the McFadden R square. Now in this slide we are going to talk about odds ratio. Odds ratios play a big role in interpreting the logistic regression models, and estimated coefficients actually provide us the log odds ratio, right. So it is somewhat difficult to understand. So we exponentiate these estimated coefficients and then we get the odds ratio. So this is the way generally in empirical researchers discuss the interpretation of the coefficients in the context of logistic regression model. So here I am showing you how you can get the odds ratio by taking the exponentiation of the estimated regression coefficients. The code is given, and you see for each of my variables continuous and discrete, now I have odds ratio. So if we concentrate on say the first variable in the list, the GRE continuous variable, then we see the value of odds ratio is 1.0022. So one can say that for an unit increase in the GRE score, the odds of being admitted to a graduate school versus not being admitted in the graduate school increases by a factor of 1.002. In some empirical applications or projects, the scholars and the analysts may be interested to find out the exact probabilities associated with success and failure for a particular observational unit. So here if student is the observational unit and we are talking about success being measured by getting an admission in the graduate school or not, may be interested to actually calculate what probability a student has of getting admission into the graduate school if we observe certain values for the covariates or the explanatory variables for that particular student. So for that we have to now compute the probability of success from the estimated regression equation. So in the next slide I am going to show you how we are going to compute such probabilities from logistic regression equation. So here you see I am showing you the codes in the box. So note that to create the predicted probabilities we have to create a new data set, and that data set should have the values we want independent variables to take on to make the prediction. Okay. So here in this slide I am going to show you how you can predict the probability of one fictional unit, and for that fictional student let me assume that I set my data at the mean. So basically for the GRE explanatory variable the score is the mean GRE score. For the GPA variable I am assuming that the student has the mean GPA score. Okay. And then I am going to run this particular command to generate the predicted probabilities, and note that here there is a problem because the rank variable is qualitative in nature and we have defined different dummy variables for it in the logistic regression model. So now actually here when you are predicting probability you can actually use 4 different levels, because when the numbers are limited, only 1 2 3 4 4 cases are there, it is not wise to calculate a mean, because mean of these grades 1 2 3 4 does not make any sense. So you compute the predicted probability for different values of rank. So that is what we have done, and the result is seen in the box. So here you see that for the same student now I have this different combination of variable values, and the first row tells me that the mean GRE score is 587.7 and mean GPA is 3.3899, and now we are assuming that the rank variable is taking value 1. So the estimated logistic regression actually now offers me an estimated probability value for these values of the explanatory variable, and the calculated number is 0.5166. So similarly you can now change the value for rank from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and you can generate the probability scores. Okay. So, we are done with our discussion on how to conduct discrete variable data analysis in R environment. So, in the last lecture of the course I am going to now talk about the time series data analysis. So, please join me for one more last time. See you then. Thank you.